In recent years, it seems that Sony has had a pretty rough time trying to find their next big multiplayer game exclusive to PlayStation consoles, especially with how their most recent multiplayer game, Destruction All-Stars, has been completely dead on updates for the past couple years. Thankfully, Square Enix decided to bless Sony with the exclusive release of Foamstars on the PS4 and PS5. But ever since the game's announcement, almost everyone has been hating on it into obscurity. But why? Well, if you never heard of Foamstars, it was controversial gameplay mechanics. It was released back in February of this year. It was meant to be the newest PlayStation exclusive shooter game. But unfortunately, it fell under what I'd call the modern multiplayer curse and remained relevant for about a month before its player base just completely dropped. The idea behind this game is that you're given a selection of characters with different bubble guns who compete in teams to fight in a handful of modes. With all this revolving around foam, which you could shoot at players, use for travel, create structures with for tactical advantages, or just, I don't know, whatever you want. There's also a story mode, regularly added seasons and characters, and an amazing soundtrack. Like, I mean, words cannot describe how good this game's music is. So going back to our main question, why did this game suddenly become irrelevant, and why do I care so much to talk about it? Well, in my eyes, I kinda unironically love this game, but there's so many funny and interesting details about this game that no one seems to talk about, which is why I'm talking about it today. Anyways, I'm gonna split this video into 5 different categories and talk about the pros and cons of each section and how the devs of Foamstars can improve on what they already have. So let's start off with the big focus, the main game. Before we get into all that stuff about similarities to other games, I want to talk about the modes, maps, and what you'd expect. So starting off with the characters, all their main weapons, side specials, and ultimates have a difference in the amount of foam they produce, which could lead to many different tactics in battle. And as I said before, the foam sprayed in this game could help with making structures or traveling across the map at higher speeds. So when it comes down to character selection, you're better off being precise with who you're using to play out each match. Especially with modes like Smash the Star, Rubber Duck Party, and Happy Bass Survival, you gotta know which character is most optimal for your playstyle. I'm not going into depth about each character though, just figure it out, man. Anyways, the modes in this game actually feel more unique than I thought they'd be. Smash the Star is a pretty interesting take on your average team deathmatch, since not only does each team need to reach a specific amount of chills to win, in this game they call kills chills, so yeah, but the best player on whichever team is losing will have a bounty on their head by the end of the match, and in order to officially win the match, your team has to chill off the other team's star player. Rubber Duck Party is also pretty cool. It's kind of just tower control from Splatoon, but when you're riding the tower, you can start dancing on it to charge up a boost for the tower. That's a cool tactic, I guess. And then Happy Bass Survival, it's also a good one. Each team is split into 2 different roles where 2 of the players will fight till it's the last team standing in an arena, while the other 2 players are on the outside of the arena spraying foam everywhere to strategize for their teammates. And yeah, there's also Lone Star and some other modes, but those are just kind of the usual stuff you see, so y'all don't mind if I skip over that, right? Okay, and there's also an online squad mission mode that has you defending an energy core from bubble beasties and waves with other players, but that's more related to the story mode, so I'll save that for later. Sadly though, if you want to play any of these modes right now, you're going to be waiting upwards of like 5 to 10 minutes to find a match in the US region. So I'm not talking about these modes as if you should actually wait to play them right now, but if you have the patience, they're a good time. Now that you got the gist of the modes, we got to talk about the pros and cons with the gameplay, because there's so many red flags that people immediately called out during this game's release. First of all, there's so many ultimates in this game that are almost identical to the ones in Splatoon. Like, I don't know what the fuck the devs were thinking when they were coming up with these ults. Don't get me wrong, they do have a fair amount of abilities and tactics that are pretty unique to this game, but you could almost immediately call out which ones came directly out of Splatoon. So is Spiky is Splatoon's Baller, Penny Gwyn's Emp is Splatoon's Reef Slider, the Barissador's Taraha, I don't know if I said that right, my bad, is Splatoon's Ink Strike, and oh my god, don't get me started with Melty's ultimate. The copying and pasting of some of these ultimates are wild. I mean, they work well in combat for a game like this, but at the same time, this game's most familiar competitor is Splatoon. And when you're using the exact same ults that were once unique to Splatoon's gameplay, that's gonna raise a lot of questions. They also allow for gyro aiming in this game, which that's kind of similar to Splatoon, but I don't really think anyone cares about that. Splatoon was a pretty big leader with the rise of gyro aiming, but other recent shooters have been implementing it too, so it's whatever. Another thing is the idea of traveling over foam with a surfboard is easily inspired by the squid form in Splatoon, but then they tried to change it up a bit by making it where instead of like Splatoon where you travel fast while reloading in the ink at the same time, for Foamstars you gotta stop and manually reload while traveling traveling on the foam instead of regenerating your ammo naturally, which is hella annoying if I'm trying to speed into combat. I mean, your ammo does regen a little bit, but when you're traveling over the foam, it just barely does anything until you're traveling in the foam for a while. And it obviously feels like they wanted to change the formula in some way so people don't call them out for being too much like Splatoon, when in reality, they just made the whole thing more tedious. The foam mechanic in this game is also really fun, and it's cool that you could pile up and make like sort of like snow forts in battle, but most of the time you got to use your side specials and ults to actually make walls and hills out of the foam, because the main weapons are mostly just utilized for like creating paths, not structures, which I mean, that's fine, but sometimes I want to build my shit by hand. Like let me use my main weapon for that too. The maps are also more open due to the foam structured gameplay style, but that's understandable, and I wouldn't argue that that's a bad thing since it could lead to some interesting game plans for your team. Only thing with all that foam though is if the other team has a massive pile of foam and you want to spray over it, it takes a long ass time to get rid of all that, when compared to Splatoon, all you had to do was simply spray over the ink once and continue traveling forward. So it could sometimes get tedious in Foamstars trying to travel across enemy foam when the other team's foam is literally everywhere. I've also heard a lot of people complain about the vibrance of this game and how much it hurts their eyes playing the game, but to be honest, I didn't really notice it while playing the game casually. Just a heads up though, because I guess it affected some people. Moving on to the game's story mode. Let me just first say, the plot of this game is one of the most random but funniest things ever. Because I guess humans did this lab experiment that created a living lamb plushie named Ramsey, who is not allowed to fall asleep or else he's gonna go like Ultra Instinct. And then one day he got so tired that he actually fell asleep and just decided that he wants to fucking destroy Bath Vegas and everyone living there with his bubble beasties. And the thing is, using a normal gun on the bubble beasties doesn't work, so now we gotta use foam to chill them, because that totally makes sense. And we also gotta guard the energy core in the middle of Bath Vegas before Ramsey blows it up, which I have no idea why they put the energy core in such an open area, but yeah. The story mode has you playing as 6 different Foamstars, with each character's version of the story having a different reason to Ramsey falling asleep and why each Foamstar is responsible for Ramsey sleeping. I wish I could say the actual story missions were as solid as the plot, because they are all literally tutorials for how to play as each Foamstar, and you really just stand in place doing a casual security shift protecting the energy core, while a small amount of bubble BCs appear from time to time so you could just pew pew at them and learn how your moveset works. Problem is, there's 6 missions for each character, but you gotta do this over and over again, so if you want to 100% the story mode with each character, it is gonna take you a while. And fun fact, if you're somehow terrible at these missions and let the BCs destroy the energy core, the entire city just blows up in the most dramatic cutscene. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone should be dead from this explosion, except they're not, because it's just foam, and oh, too bad, now we gotta clean up the city because of Ramsey. The only thing holding these missions together is that they have the characters talking to each other throughout every wave in order to progress the plot and explain to you why Ramsey fell asleep in the first place. And some of these plots are actually hilarious. Specifically talking about Raybreaker's story mode, the whole reason why Ramsey is about to blow up Bath Vegas is I guess he was feeling tired and decided that in order to not fall asleep and reach his like beast form or whatever, he's gonna go to the club and get wasted. But then this motherfucker Raybreaker, who hates partying, decides to cut out the electricity at the party. Ramsey then immediately crashes out the party, goes beast mode, and now Raybreaker has to protect the energy core or else Ramsey's blowing up the entire city. And if you somehow have the patience to get to the end of any of these story modes though, you eventually get to fight Ramsey in the final mission, which, first off, his fight raises the difficulty way up out of nowhere, because in most of the missions you're just standing there and holding the R2 button at beasties. But this final boss is like the only instance where it feels like I'm actually moving around or pressing any other button. Then what makes this boss fight even crazier is that this dude Ramsey has like 3 different forms for the final boss. You gotta chill him 3 different times to completely finish him off and make him go back to his normal form, which is just rubbing salt in the wound for how long the rest of the story mode was. I feel like I want to chill myself before I even get to finishing the 3rd phase, like honestly. I'm pretty sure Ramsey comes back more times throughout all these story mode finales than William Afton does throughout all of FNAF. Like, why in the world am I fighting him a total of 18 times throughout all 6 of the story modes? Anyways, when you actually beat him, he turns back to normal. The Burstador gives him some secret Starbucks menu item to keep him awake for a while, and that's the end, I guess. Even though Ramsey is still tortured to stay awake for the rest of his life, like, Is that supposed to be a happy ending or something? The fuck? Going back to the squad mission mode though, it's basically the story mode missions again, but you get to play them with a group. And ironically, they actually get pretty hard even if you have a good team. Each wave of squad missions gives you a random selection of upgrades to make the gameplay more interesting, but in the original story mode, they didn't have that, so yeah, just play squad missions if you want the better experience. They also eventually added Ramsey as a playable character to the new season of the game, which doesn't really make sense with the squad missions because now Ramsey could fight against his own troops, but hey, the devs just got to make sure he has like 3 phases when fighting other people so he's lore accurate and we're good, right? Alright, now moving on to this game's soundtrack. As I said before, words cannot describe how much I love it, and a majority of people see this game for its flaws when it has some of the most catchy OST I've heard out of any game. The second I booted up the game in the open beta and heard the tutorial music, I started levitating because it actually went so hard. And then the music you hear in the matches. Like, oh my god, who is composing this game's soundtrack? Hold on, just hear the tutorial music for a sec. This is the song that starts the entire experience. Apparently the music group Monica made this OST. They made soundtracks for animes and stuff too, I guess, but for this game, like, oh!
I would never cry to a
Foamstars soundtrack.
Let's be honest. I am a...
Of course though, knowing the devs, they were gonna do something absurd to ruin the soundtrack spotlight. I guess they originally announced that they were working with AI tools to make specifically the album covers, which is why people knew about it. But to be honest, if you were bored as hell and chose to look closely at these covers yourself, like, I don't think vitamins are U-shaped like that. I remember this raising so much controversy on Twitter, and so many people assumed the rest of the game was AI generated, which I don't think it was. But their use for AI on these album covers wasn't even necessary. They probably wanted these songs to feel more like they were made by producers in-game or something like Splatoon's band groups. But no, that's stupid. When are you gonna care about the menu for these songs? Because they didn't even need to have the album covers there. Why did they fuck up the reputation of this entire game over these fucking photos? Like, they could have just had the songs listed there and called it a day, but no. Maybe they just wanted to dip their toes in the water and see how okay people were with the growth of AI having in-game examples. But they got so much hate off of these album covers that didn't even mean anything to the core game. So it's like, what the fuck, Enix? Anyways, ending off this video with the last section of other stuff in the game, we gotta talk about the hub because I find this area of the game unlike most in-game hubs. As you could guess, the hub has your basic stuff like the item shop, customization area, match finder, and other normal areas, but for some reason, this game has a lounge decoration area where you could put like a bunch of random items in your lounge for either training or inviting your friends over or just doing whatever with. It's so weird how many things they got in the decoration mode because I can't imagine many people putting this to its true use, but you could create like an entire Roblox obby in your lounge if you really wanted to. One time me and my friends did a build off with the lounge decorations in each of our hubs, and I'm pretty sure it ended off with all of us using the same brain cell to create like strip clubs and Foamstars. Like that's literally the shit you could pull off in this game. I'm not even joking. Other than that, the hub doesn't have a ton else other than the view from the balcony or foyers, which I still don't really know what foyers is, but it looks pretty cool. But my hub, they got random lights everywhere. It kind of looks like a Fortnite concert over my Foamstars lounge, so that's pretty cool. The item shop though, we gotta talk about the prices of the Foamstar skins because I'm convinced most of the people who bought this shit either don't go outside or is rich as hell. Who is buying a skin set for $45 fucking dollars? I could buy maybe 9 Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches with that money if we're not counting tax. I could even buy the Mario Kart Tour Diddy Kong pack for less money than this. Just save your money. It's not worth it at all. You're probably asking yourself though, Ryan, why are you making such a big deal about it? It isn't like you have to pay for these skins. I only saw the whole spending more than $5 on a skin thing work with Fortnite because not only do a lot of the skins eventually become rare or have you playing as a popular character from other genres, but none of these skins are locked behind playing a specific character to use it. I'm telling you, no one's gonna give a shit over you having an overpriced Foamstar skin. It's Destruction All-Stars all over again. Like, stop trying to put a large price on every cosmetic when I could only buy these cosmetics for one of the 11 playable characters. Okay, just so everyone knows, but I think while I was making this video, they dropped the price of $25 for the bundle skins in the new season, so I guess we know the world's healing now, right? At least with the new characters for the most part, I'm pretty sure you either get them from the battle pass or you have to grind for them with XP, which I mean that's a fair price to pay for a character. But then the skins in this game cost more money than the battle pass itself. Who is paying $7 to have Ramsey dressed up in a wolf outfit? I know how clever that skin's concept is, but I'm not falling for that though. I gotta save my money to pay taxes and shit. Even the individual surfboards and weapon skins cost money. I mean, at least they didn't use AI artwork on the surfboards, I think. But still, $3 for a digital surfboard that most people won't see. Like, I don't know who's buying this stuff. Oh yeah, speaking of the battle passes, I'm pretty sure each pass goes for 1 to 2 months, and the seasonal themes and updates add a good amount of stuff to the game. So thing is though, I haven't been on the game too much during season 2, so I don't know what was going on at that time. But whenever another season rolled around, like, you could tell the devs actually put a lot of care into making this game, even though a lot of people refuse to see the good side of Foamstars. Too bad it mostly gets overshadowed by these fucking price tags on the skins. Alright, now ending it all off, should people give Foamstars another chance, or should we just move on from it? I mean, despite how charming this game is to me, I can't deny that if you want the better gaming experience, you should probably just hop on Splatoon 3 if you have a Switch. Which, despite my 150 plus hours on Splatoon 3, I'm not trying to sound biased, but Foamstars feels a lot like a watered down Splatoon game while still having its own charm. If you have a PS4 or PS5, just remember that this game is still a solid alternative to playing Splatoon without paying the whole $60. I feel pretty bad for this game falling off in popularity so fast though, because too many games have had that happen recently. But that could have easily been more avoidable if the devs tried to stray away from using so many of Splatoon's gameplay features while also avoiding AI. Overall, we're in an age of gaming where if your multiplayer game is too similar to other shooters, it will remain hated until the day it dies. While if you try to create a unique experience, a majority of people will just ignore it due to its differences from other games. Which really sucks, but every developer seriously needs to play their cards right if they want to make a successful game today. I think Foamstars could gain a lot more traction if they ported the game to PC, since a game like this would work well with a keyboard and mouse. But if they really wanted this to remain a PlayStation exclusive, then yeah, I don't know, Sony. You may just want to stick with single player experiences in the future, since the multiplayer thing, it hasn't worked 2 times in a row on the PS5. Anyways, try Foamstars if you haven't already. Make sure to like and subscribe to join the herd, and let me know if you want to see more videos like this in the future. See ya.